This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. If you have a business and looking at it thinking that maybe it should be more successful, or maybe it should run smoother, maybe you're dealing with some challenges, maybe you personally are dealing with some challenges within your business, or even just the way it operates, got some help for you. And interestingly, this gentleman takes care of everything from the coaching to the operations aspect of businesses. And we're going to pick his brain on all of that today. He joins us from Washington, that greater metro area. He's also connected to New York City as well. Davonte Williams is on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, same. And you're very different in that, I guess there's two sides. Are you Gemini?
No, Capricorn.
There's two sides to you here. You know, one side is the personal coaching or business coaching side. The other is the business operations consultant side. And usually you have to go to separate people for that. You blend the whole thing together. We're going to get to all of that in a moment. But I'm curious, what do you hear from a lot of the people that you're working with now? What are they telling you? What are their pain points?
Yeah, I think a lot of people that I'm working with now, they're either entering the labor force as a new professional, or they're making a pretty massive career shift, usually into the tech space or the software development space. And things are rough. Things are rough right now. There are a lot of layoffs. There have been layoffs, especially within tech for the last couple of years. And people are struggling just to get their foot in the door. So that's encompassing a lot of our conversations now.
I have to, we go there. In what's going on in our world, our country right now, there's a lot of challenge, a lot of uncertainty. Has that escalated? Just out of curiosity, I don't do politics at all, ever, never go there. But I'm just curious, has that escalated some of the anguish with the people that you work with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's hard not to bring it up because it's so deeply ingrained in everything that is happening now. There's a reason that people are being laid off and that prices are not great right now. And it has enraged a lot of people. It's discouraged a lot of others. It's kind of just been piled on to the regular slew of problems of just trying to build yourself up as a professional, but now having to navigate it in this very volatile space.
When you look at a lot of the businesses that you work with or have worked with in terms of their operations, what are you seeing? Is it, a lot of wasted time, wasted energy? They haven't clearly defined what their goals and expectations are. What seems to be the baseline?
It's a little bit varied, but the businesses that I tend to focus on working with are usually a little bit smaller in scale. It's usually the founder or the CEO or whoever it is deeply involved and ingrained in that business. It's like their baby, it's their dream, it's what they want to do. And so it's really exciting to work with people that have made that shift because one, it makes it easier to help other people, including myself, transition more into that, being your own boss and building up your own business. But it's a lot of the common issues, the small things where a lot of the structure, for better and for worse sometimes, just isn't there, where they don't have a clear process documented. They don't have a clear workflow. It's kind of just what has worked for them so far until it becomes too much of a problem where they have to do something about it.
What would you say is your best advice for somebody with a small business? Engaging you along the way, but fundamentally, what would you say? Even a lot of people are changing directions, starting new businesses. What would be like your foundation? Like, guys, you got to do this before you do anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the number one thing is to reach out for help. I think that a lot of people going into business kind of go in with this mindset where I have to be successful and I have to be successful alone. I have to be, the person that just did it against all odds with nobody else, that just overcame everything. And sometimes that is the story for some people. Sometimes that's possible, but for the overwhelming majority, for me included, it's just not the way that it works. You need a community. You need help. You need that guy that you know from a club or from softball that is really good at web development to help you with your website, or that other person that's good with this to give you advice on, maybe somebody that's a CPA that can help you with tax stuff. But it comes from a community,
Mm.
getting involved with your local community, getting involved with the people in your life, and leveraging those skills to give you as much of an advantage as you possibly can get.
I'm right there with you, and I totally get it. And many of us don't like to delegate, don't like to ask for help. But I've found, and I want your vibe on this. Once you start doing it, making a phone call, just talking with somebody, it's almost as if the sun comes out, the window opens, the
Mhm.
door swings open. It's like, oh, wow, that felt really good talking about that. Even just picking somebody's brain on something, uh, you don't know until you know. I guess that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are not a lot of things where you get a genuine, almost immediate return on what you're doing. And having conversations with people like that is one of those very few things where, yeah, immediately like, oh, this has been demystified for me. I have more insight. It's not as scary. I have somebody from the inside explaining maybe just some of the basic things about, doing any of these processes that are a little bit scary going in on by yourself. But yeah, just having those conversation, it really kind of opens the doorway and creates a pathway towards, all right, I've done step one. I've asked the hard question. I've committed to doing something. Now I can move forward.
It's like I call them camera angles. You're viewing it from one angle, but if you watch any movie, TV show, there are different angles. And when you start talking with somebody, even somebody like yourself, you get a different angle. Oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't see it that way. Devonte, where did it begin for you in terms of business operations, coaching? Take us through your journey.
It's been a long journey, that's for sure, and it's been a little bit non-traditional. Going through college and struggling quite a bit, going to multiple colleges and going through a really non-traditional education pathway. I think that is where my foundation and my principles came in, where my initial thing that I wanted to do, that I wanted to contribute just to the world, to the workforce, is to use the knowledge that I've gained to avoid the mistakes that I've made and to give that to anyone that would listen. And so that manifested first in public education, traditional K through 12 education, working for some charter schools in New York, in elementary and middle school, and trying to be the person that I needed when I was in school, when I was in those positions, working with the parents of the kids in these areas in the Bronx and Harlem, trying to be a resource for them too, where there may be resources or things that they just don't understand, that they just need somebody to be there that actually cares to help them. But that was difficult, because within education, there is a lot of red tape, there are a lot of roadblocks, there are a lot of obstacles towards what you would see on the ground as this is a clear and solvable issue, but we can't just solve it. We have to go through this process or this avenue. We have to do A, B, and C first. And so that was a little disheartening in just seeing how little power I had to affect the change that I wanted to see. And so that inspired me to move into the nonprofit space,
Hmm.
and get into a space that was kind of an intersection of tech and education, being a non-traditional boot camp like, taking people from underserved populations and trying to help them become software developers, which is no easy thing. And it's become even so much harder now. But eventually, same thing. Seeing leadership make decisions that seem almost antithetical to everything that they stand for their mission, for their principles, either because of a financial decision or a strategic decision and seeing the disconnect between what needs to happen from an operational and boots on the ground standpoint from a leadership position. And so after all of that, I was heavily discouraged by entering kind of like the corporate adjacent space in traditional workspace. And I was really lucky in getting an opportunity from a former coworker who was doing freelancing consulting for a really good company out in Arizona called Quadi Consulting, and working with them on a few projects and working with some smaller businesses, and then seeing the CEO there, Kendi, kind of embody what I wanted to do, a disconnect from this traditional corporate pathway into just doing work in a way that makes sense to them, in a way that makes sense to me. And that's kind of what pushed me to start my own company and bring me here today.
Wow. A journey for sure. And in that journey, would you say that a lot of businesses, organizations, whatever you want to call them, nonprofit, they haven't clearly defined their standards, their direction, call it the manifest,
Hmm.
whatever. I've encountered that. Like, and then when it trickles down to employees and even leaders in the organization, either everybody's kind of doing what they think they should be doing, or don't even know what they should be doing. You feel that's a challenge now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that across the board, the disconnect of people and teams that are involved with the process, just understanding how things work as a whole, it's just prevalent everywhere, from the small companies to the large companies, and it's not something that's particularly hard to fix. It takes a little bit of vulnerability, one
Mm.
from leadership, which is a very difficult thing to inspire and to encourage in a way that is safe, because especially for small businesses, this is their company, they are the person in charge. They can't go in too vulnerable, just weeping on why things aren't working. There's a level of balance there, but there is a level of authentic vulnerability that is required to say, hey, this isn't really working too well, and I want to hear really what you think, what we need to change, and open up a structured pathway to even allow those conversations to happen without everything just erupting.
Yep. Yeah. I get it. Because when, here you are, people working for a company for 5 years, 10, whatever it is. And now it's like, all right, this is what we're doing here. It can be a little scary for some.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
let's flash back. Devonte is in his teens, maybe low 20s. What would you tell yourself now?
Ooh. Uh, a lot of things. Probably one, buy some Bitcoin while it's cheap.
Eh, Steve would have told himself that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Number one. But I think that knowing and accepting that the traditional pathways that were kind of forced down, going to college, working for the corporate job, working for that place where you can start small and you'll have the option to work your way up. That isn't an option for everyone. It certainly wasn't an option for me. I
Mhm.
think that investing more in my personal education outside of traditional education, getting my certifications, or just doing research so that I know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of people that are qualified to talk on a lot of things, but they don't really know so much about it, or don't know about it in a modern context. And so I think that,
They called that back in the day, it was known as being book smart. Yeah.
yeah,
But can you apply what's in that book that you learned, back in the
yeah.
day to today? And more importantly, can you verbalize it to others? A lot of
Hmm.
people can't.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a pretty major disconnect I've seen in theory into execution, where, you've gone to the big Ivy League MBA program, the theory, but then when it comes to making that actually happen, it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know how to actually do that.
Right. Yeah, I read it in a book.
Yeah.
Tell us the difference between personal coaching and what you offer as well. I'm sorry, professional coaching and personal coaching.
So professional coaching is something that I've been doing a bit informally and formally in most of my previous roles within education, whether it's with the parent of a student or with former fellows in the coding program that I had. But it's trying to impart all of the knowledge that I have towards presenting yourself in a way that makes you hireable, collecting the assets that you need, having a good resume, being able to construct a good cover letter. If you're going to software development or something like that, you also need a strong profile. You need projects. You need to update your GitHub and show that you're coding and have your projects available there. And so a lot of that is coaching on really what is a lot of the basics of engaging in the modern labor market, which is just different. It's very, very different. We have 70% of applications that are never seen by a human. They go straight to an ATS, an applicant tracking system, or they're vetted by AI. And if you don't have the keywords that they need, you don't go anywhere. And so sometimes you need to construct a resume that is almost
Mm,
purely for the AI and not for the person. If you can
yeah.
get in contact with a person, you can give them another resume or something else later on. But that
You know what? Let's
first step.
focus on resume for just a moment because
Yeah,
it's a
sure.
different world. And I forget what software is used. It's pretty universal where it's just looking for certain words
Hmm.
and many, and give me your feedback on this, please. Many of us, because we can, come up with these graphically cool looking resumes with our, headshot and,
Hmm.
it's all laid out really nice and everything. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
because the AI, when they throw it through the, program filter, whatever, looking for certain keywords, it's better not to have that stuff. It's
Hmm.
just to have certain words that will trigger it and put you in a different category and hopefully get a call back.
Yeah.
Am I hearing this right from what I'm understanding now?
Yeah, it's kind of tragic. And I actually used to
Yeah, right.
teach towards that way where, having an attractive and I love colors. I love
Same.
pops and bursts of colors. I want something to be pleasant to look at. And so my old resume, it had my headshot, it had a bunch of colors splashed around it, and then it had all the information. But the feedback that I was getting on it in 2020, 2021, before these applicant tracking systems became reliant on AI, people were happy to see it. Like, yeah, this is refreshing. This is standing out. This is not just a blank piece of paper that I have to read. There's color, there's pictures, there's something for here for me to engage with. And so that helped me several times get a number of jobs.
Mm.
And now it just does not work. It's a waste of space to have all these graphics, to have your headshot. You're just kind of like packing all of this information into your resume so that you can make room for these keywords and the exact phrasing that you need. If you're going for a strategy ops position, you need to have roadmap development, but all of these specific kind of phrases, almost like you're just playing a game and you're trying to get the right combination of passcodes to, unlock an actual human. But it's very different now, and it's kind of crashing in on itself because when on one hand we have all of these tools that are being used to read resumes, but now we also have people that are fully reliant on using AI to write their resume. So it's,
Yeah,
you
right.
write a cover letter, then you plug it into ChatGPT, then you plug it into Humanify AI or some tool to make it sound more human, and then but by the time you've actually pushed it out to a hiring manager, this has gone through 5 iterations of AI improvement, and it's like what is left of you as the individual, conveying who you are and what you have to offer, and your humanity is, I think, more difficult now than it's ever been.
I'm a big believer in energy. We're all energy. That dude, what's his name? Einstein talked about it years ago, and everybody just,
Hmm.
kind of put it off to the side. And woo woo alert, I get it. Yeah. In terms of putting your energy into a resume, I feel that others pick up on that energetically. So now if you're pumping it through different forms of AI, it's missing that number one. Number two, it's not even you. It's not even the words
Mhm.
you would use. And I think it gets to the same thing with, I have teenagers. Can today's generation of teenagers verbalize and communicate? A
Mm.
lot of them are challenged by that because all they do is type, and it's a whole different situation in terms of when you have to go face to face to somebody. So I look at it in terms of the resume. All right, you're hired, or we're thinking about hiring you. Come on in, let's talk. What do I do now? My resume was generated by AI. I don't remember what it said. It sounded good to me, when I emailed it or submitted it to the portal to get the job. But there's a disc. There's so much good. But then you said a word. I don't want to be negative, but it kind of encapsulates a lot. Tragic.
Mhm.
It's in a way there's
Mhm.
this tragic human connection that has been lost, not just because of AI, but maybe because of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And an over reliance on it. I
Mm.
think that this is a technology that we've gotten access to maybe a little too quickly. I think smaller doses would have been better for all of us. But yeah, just being able to plug in your entire resume, your entire cover letter, and just to have what is objectively great material come in as an output, it takes away a lot of the personality and the energy and the individuality that makes you who you are applying to that role. And it's kind of set up that way. It's almost like a lot of these hiring managers trying to fulfill their roles. They're not trying to fill it with a person. They're trying to fill it with another thing,
Mm.
just this inanimate object that fits
Yep.
into this piece as tightly as possible.
It's I encountered this recently. I'm working with somebody on a project. We partnered up with something and we have, each of us has our roles and needed something written. And I know it would be in his wheelhouse. So I threw it to him, press release, right? Threw it to him. And he messages me back a couple hours later. He's like, yeah, it's all done. Check it out. I emailed it to you. And it was generated with AI. And I wasn't expecting that. And I haven't looked at it yet. Actually, I've kind of put it to the side because
Hmm.
I thought he was going to write it, and he's good like that. But it went through AI.
Hmm.
And not to say that it's going to be bad, um, but even if it goes through AI, you still have to tweak it. I look
Hmm.
at AI. If you think of an old school lathe that you use it for wood, and let's say you have a block of wood, and you're going to create a spindle for your staircase, put it in the lathe, and it kind of shapes it out for you. But you can't pop it on the staircase. You have to personally sand it down. You have to put a finish on it. There's a lot more that needs to get done. To me, I look at AI as like the lathe. It's the starting point, but you can't rely on it totally.
Hmm.
Do you feel that way?
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that if I were to give anyone just broad advice, it would be one, don't plug anything fully into AI. Don't put your
Yeah.
entire cover letter, do things in bits and pieces, kind of keep them isolated. But I would also say make like a human sandwich. You start with what you produce as a human, you use AI tools in the middle, and then you refine it afterwards so that you always have the first and final say on whether or not this is something that reflects you, whether this is your voice, whether it's accurate too, because AI is still learning and sometimes just gives us some
Yeah.
incredibly inaccurate information. And, especially as a deliverable or a resume or you never want to produce that as your own work as a small business person. Your reputation is still everything. That's one thing that hasn't changed. And
I will
yeah.
end on that note. Yeah, you're right. There it is. Integrity, reputation is everything. You have a fantastic reputation for what you do to help move people and businesses along. Davonte, how do we find you?
On my website, just kindpire.com, I have a contact form there. I have more information on the services that I provide. But you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, Devonte Williams. Hopefully, you'll find my face somewhere on that list. But
Not
yeah, reach
generated
out
by
to me.
AI.
Yeah, my real own human image. But yeah, either message me directly, message me on my site, and let's have a conversation.
Got 20 seconds left before they cut us off. Got to ask this question. Kind Pyre.
Hmm.
What does it mean?
I think that what I do, it leads everything I try to do, I try to lead with compassion. That is like the core principle of what I do as a person that produces anything. But then Pyre is just this idea of rebirth, of recreating yourself and empowering yourself to push beyond the obstacles that you've encountered so far and to come into almost like a new world with a fresh perspective on what is now possible with this new outlook that you have.
Love it. And I think we're kind of cut from the same cloth. I do a radio show, been doing it forever. We play music, and I end every show with be kind to yourself and others
Hmm.
because I don't think we're not. And you're fostering that right there with your business principles and also the name. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Looking forward next time we get together.
Sounds good.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.